Hi guys, so it's the last day of the year, and before the year ran out, I just wanted to release a video showing how grateful I am for this year in particular, and the people that God has brought into my life, and the bosses I have, mentors, and everyone, my friends, my family. Like, sincerely speaking, close to the end of this year, I was really feeling down, and I really couldn't see the reason I was even existing in the year. Like, it just felt like this year was a blur, and there was nothing I could really pick out and say, okay, this is what I did for this year, or this is what I accomplished for this year. But I just had this idea of looking back at the year in totality, not just this moment, the year in totality, and see how much have I grown, what have I been doing, or what did I stop doing, and everything. And I really looked back and I saw that there were a lot of things that, even though it didn't seem monumental in my own eyes, it's still a growth process. Like, I had my first photo shoot this year. I edited a documentary. I did a whole lot of things that I wasn't really grateful for at the time, but now looking back at it, I'm really grateful for people that gave me the opportunity to do some of these things. One of them is definitely my boss, Mr. Mustafa. I really want to use this opportunity to appreciate you, because you took a chance on me when I didn't believe in myself and everything. Like, a lot of what I'm able to do now is as an attribute of getting to work with 21st. So it's really something I'm really grateful for, and I don't take for granted. Yeah, so I'm just going to run down in this because I had in this, because when you really want to be thankful, I think there's this reason why they say you should count your blessings, and one of the ways of counting your blessings is to look back and like, write down the things that you should be thankful for. So one of the first things I want to be thankful for was like the project I started the year with. That's the Kendalas project. So Kendalas is an hotel. Can't really remember the location. So bad of me. Yeah, so they contacted us to do a website for them, and around that point, we were supposed to hire a photographer to do everything, like snap the place and the surroundings and everything. But I think the guy didn't show up, so I just volunteered. I think the whole story is in. I had that uploaded on Medium. Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll go, and I took the office camera and everything, and I Ubered down to the place and everything. The funny thing was, at that particular point in time, all I've been doing was just watching videos about editing photographs and using the ISO triangle. I hadn't really tried it out, so that was really my first instance of doing that. And looking back, I made a lot of errors on that photo shoot. Like, there were times when I'd set the camera for indoor photography and I came outdoors to shoot, and of course everything was looking too dark, and there were some times where everything was looking too bright and stuff like that. So it took a whole lot of editing, and that was another thing I was really grateful for, because over the years I've been playing over with Photoshop and doing all these crazy effects, watching all these Indians on YouTube do these crazy effects. So based on that, I was really able to salvage most of the pictures that were underexposed. I didn't even shoot on RAW. That's the first mistake I did. I shot JPEGs, and for anyone that does photography that knows that they have clients work, you know that you definitely want to shoot in RAW. And I shot JPEGs, and I came back with bad photographs. But based on the editing skills I've been able to gather over the years, I was able to salvage that project, and the website is up and it looks awesome and everything. And I really want to thank Dami for suggesting I use Lightroom, because one of the things that happens when you go for a photo shoot is that you want to snap as many pictures as you can, but when you get back to your decks, you now start finding out that you took more than you wanted, and you have to edit each one. So at that particular point in time, I really couldn't wrap my head around dragging every photograph into Photoshop, editing, then saving, then taking it back, then if there was an error, coming back into it again. But that means suggesting I use Lightroom really opened the world of possibilities for me, because Lightroom lets you see every photograph side by side, and you could see how your edit is affecting the next photograph. So I was able to salvage the project thanks to Dami, and thanks to using Adobe Lightroom. And yeah, that was that. So the next project I worked on was the Oro photo shoot. No, it's not a photo shoot. It was the oral video shoot. So Auntie Ify said I should come and direct because we were supposed to do a video for Valentine's Day, and we used that opportunity to shoot a couple of videos. And I was supposed to direct, and of course, I've never directed a video before. And I came into that that set, and everyone was looking at me like, "Okay, Mr. Director, what do we do?" And I'm like, "Man, you guys are the professionals. Just do what you do, and just give me the clips. I'll go back and edit it." But I think that was the first time working with other professionals and being able to say, okay, this is how I feel like this should be, and giving my creative input and hearing back from them. It was a really, really good learning experience for me, and I was really happy that I worked on that. And of course, working with Blessing was amazing. She's just like the best. She's a very, very funny person, and on set she was just cracking jokes and making life terrible for the cameraman, because and even me, because when I was editing there were a lot of things that, like when you're cutting clips of somebody doing like an interview, like there are supposed to be pauses where if they want to say the next thing you can actually cut on that, but Blessing talks fast, so there were times when she was already into the next thing before we even finished on one thing. So it was just a ball having that project to work on, and that was cool. And I think the next really fun project I worked on was a couple of videos for Do Good Africa. So it started off with motion graphic video that PD Wilson did voiceover for, and I think indirectly I've worked with PD Wilson on a couple of projects for the church where he does the voiceover and I just do motion graphics for it. But this was one of the projects that we worked on that was outside the church. So the Do Good Africa documentary followed after that, but he didn't get to do voiceover for that. So I think Dami shot that, and that documentary really was. Looking back at it now, it looked like everything was cool, but it was really heartbreaking working on it, because that meant you had to listen to these stories over and over again about how the government wasn't working for the community. And I think close to the end of the time that I was working, I was really, really tired of even hearing the voices of the characters and everything. So, but looking back at it, it's really awesome, and I'm really thankful that I got to work on something that wasn't just for profit. It was actually doing good and everything. So I'm really, really glad I worked on that. And of course, I think around that time, FA and MENA set up this whole meet where we had to go. We got to go to Ado, Hawaii, and me, I'm this type of person that really rarely goes out, so I was really, really happy that I got invited for that, and the trip was fun. Places, if you've not checked out Ado, Hawaii, you should. I think Nigeria has these places where, based on, especially if you stay in Lagos, you're always in this fast-paced life where you don't really get to go out and see things that are slowed down. And I think one of the things that trip did for me was to just see how people live in a slowed down paced life, and climbing the mountain with a couple of strangers and a couple of people I knew. It was really, really fun, and I'm really glad I got to go for that. And I think around that time too was the first time I went for to LLC, because the year before this, that was 2018, I was mostly centered around work, and at the end of the year I was just looking back. It wasn't like I became a millionaire at the end of the year, so I was working, but there wasn't really like this monumental piece of amount of money that I could say, okay, this is what all the work I did amounted to. So I just thought to myself, if I'm not going to make all the money in the world, why don't I just get to go on these trips with different people and just experience life, and not just be the guy that just sat down in front of the computer. So I got to see LLC, and I think I went with Yeti Barnes, and it was really, really fun. Like, we had a really, really spiritual time. Yeti, you're awesome. So I think the next project I worked on was the 8th Verse project. And that's for Philips brand, 121 seller, and I just did a couple of promotional videos for them, and it was really cool. I think the church anniversary came around that time too, so I did some promotional videos for that as well. For some reason, I didn't know the camera stopped recording. Anyway, so I was talking about Flip Leaves. Now, if you don't know what Flip Leaves is, it's an initiative that a friend of mine, Anakogbo Sule, came up with, where a bunch of graphic designers, illustrators, writers, social media people come together and we create books for children. So it's just an initiative to get kids back to reading, and it's just to foster the reading culture. And it's the second edition happened this year, and I was able to meet a whole fun lot of people. Thelma being one of them. Like we were on the same team, and it was just a whole lot of fun. I think other teams as well, meeting a whole bunch of people, people I've seen before, Shade Senpai, yeah, and it was just a fun time. And I think around that time too, two classmates from my secondary school were getting married around that time, and it was just like one really big reunion where I got to like see people I've not seen in a really long time, and it was just a whole lot of fun. And around that time too, I was doing these time-lapse videos where I just take a model and just draw for a while, and it was just a fun thing for me to do around that time. So yeah, and I got to go back to LLC again, and I went with the group this time around. I think Yeti Bands wasn't available at that time, so I went with a different group, and it was all because I think the first time I went, the canopy walk wasn't available. They said they were renovating it, so I knew I definitely had to go again. So around this time around, I got to do the canopy walk, and it was fun. Yeah, and my uncle got married at around I think a couple of months later, and big family reunion, like Igodale family. You guys are the best, and it was really fun. I've been saying really a lot because man, it's been an awesome year. Like looking back, it's really been an awesome year. And yeah, so back to the trips, I got to go again with Efe, Mena, and Nak. I think Nak came around this time, and I got to meet a bunch of really fun people. We went to Takwa Bay, and I think we rented a cabin, and we played. We didn't play charades. We played. What's this game now? We played one game. It was really fun. I think the name eludes me right now. Yeah, catchphrase. We played catchphrase, and it was. I think at the start of the whole thing, I was really not feeling it because I'm not much of a people person, and I think I was still in my shell. But as the day progressed and I got more comfortable, it was really fun thing to do. And I think like if I'm having like an outing with the group, I think it's something that I want to do again. But we got to see the page, we got to interact with locals. It was really a fun time, and yeah. So when I got back from that, I felt like I was doing too much work that was work related. So I wanted to do something out of the normal schedule that I do, and I think around this time we had one of those Wednesdays where everybody was in camp, and I think Philip Junta and a couple of the members of the choir wanted to do covers for songs that they liked. So I volunteered to shoot, and yeah, I think the thing about doing experimental projects is it really opens you to yourself, because there are some things you feel like you can do, like based on off the top of your head, you just feel like you can really do these things. Like, how hard could it be? And when you try it out for yourself, you see how difficult it is. Like, there are things that you didn't take into consideration in the first instance. So I think a lot of this year has been that, just diving into projects and finding out, oh, okay, this is how it is. And I think when you start recording people doing things like using multiple cameras and stuff. So another program I'm really grateful for. I don't know who introduced it to me or how I found it, but DaVinci Resolve has been a blessing to me this year. And if you're like a videographer, you edit videos and you've not checked out Resolve, you should, because it's been really awesome. Like working with that multicam, it just saved me a whole lot of stress, because working with multiple cameras, changing from one angle to another, I know you could do it in Premiere, but I think it's easier for me in Resolve. And of course color grading and all those things, it was really just fun. Yeah, and October came around and I really started to look at putting out videos on this channel and trying to make it as awesome as possible. So yeah, and I think I did the October challenge, but I really couldn't finish this year because I stopped having fun and I just sort of lost interest. So around the end of the year, I was really too focused on the work stuff, and I was just trying to find myself and a whole lot of things that really didn't make sense to anybody, and it was just a gloomy period for me. But I feel like having the people that I do in my life, having friends to look out for me and just call me up at random, it's really been a blessing. And I don't want this video to be gigantically long, so I think I'll end it here. But I just want to be thankful for you guys, because you guys really have stuck with me through. I'm a very difficult person to work with sometimes. I know a colleague of mine can attest to that fact, and friends of mine also know that there are times when I can be this very difficult person. But thanks to everyone that has stuck with me regardless. Thanks for everyone that has forgiven me for the times I've been wrong. Thanks for the clients that keep believing in this ability that God has given me. Thanks to my colleagues for tolerating me. Thanks to my aunties for being supportive, my uncles as well. Thanks to my whole family, my younger ones, for even picking up the call, because I know I don't do that as often as I should. But 2020, I'll try to be the best version of me that I can be. And to my cousins as well, that I wasn't as present as I should have been. Like, I feel like this year has really taken its toll on me in different ways as well. But going into the new decade, I'll try to be a better person, a better version of myself than I am this particular time. So I just felt like this period was just one of those times where I just had to look back and see how things have been. Like, if you don't know where you're coming from, you can't really determine where you want to go. So the foundations of everything that has been built this year is the path that I'm going to be launching to the next decade with. So I don't know what to expect for myself, but I'm really in this positive space right now, and I don't feel like I want to shift from this feeling. So I'll keep making the mistakes that I'm making, and I know most of these videos aren't the most perfect thing that you could expect from this platform, but I've learned, and I think this is one important thing I can share with anybody. I've learned that there are a couple of things you could learn from watching other people do them, but there are a whole lot of things you can only learn by doing it yourself. So you can't, there's no amount of videos or coaching you can get about swimming without diving into the pool yourself to actually practice that thing. So you can be outside the pool as much as you want and feel like it's going to be easy when you do, but when you get into the pool, that's when everything changes. So this is just me trying to say, whatever you feel like you haven't started because it feels like it's too daunting a task, just dive head into it, and you never know. And my MIDI keyboard is in here. It's one of the things I'm really thankful for my boss for helping me get as well, because it has really gotten me back to making music, even though it's music that I can't share with anybody because I don't want to make your ears bleed and stuff, but it has really gotten me back to that creative space. So yeah, and I think that's all I want to be thankful for this year for. And I don't think I'll super edit this video because I don't think I can say much of the things that I've said. I've really spoken from the heart, and I think I'll cut out a lot of the crap. But yeah, once again, thank you for an awesome 2019. You guys have been awesome. Stay blessed.